Good to have you back with us, Professor. As I mentioned there, we've got the opposition in Georgia, pro-Western, essentially demanding or not recognising the outcome of Saturday's vote, which was declared in favour of the Russia-aligned Georgian Dream Party. What's your view? Is there a case to be had to investigate these claims of irregularities?
Well, the irregularities come from political warfare against the Georgian government, which is not Russia-aligned. What the Georgian Dream propose is a law, the Foreign Agents Registration Act, which the US enacted in 1938 to prevent foreign influence in Georgia. And if you have 25,000 NGOs in Georgia, have a lot of influence. I mean, the Georgian president is a French citizen. So, I mean, if you look at the protesters, a lot of them are flying EU flags, US, NATO. I mean, this is an attempt to bring Georgia back to heel. And you can see this, for example, in the Congressional Research Service reports. So this is an attempt to paint it as one thing, but when in fact it is something completely different. I mean, Turkey, of course, had the same problem with the presidential elections recently when there was an attempt to interfere with President Erdogan's re-election.
Yes, and Greg, we know that the Georgia Dream Party, you say, isn't overtly aligned with Russia, but its billionaire founder, in fact, the richest man in Georgia, founded the party, and he's been exposed to have quite close ties with Moscow. So that's why the opposition, both in Georgia and also international organisations like NATO and those in the EU and US, are saying that there is a case to be had here that these claims of irregularities should at least be looked at. Is that a fair point, the fact that the founder of the Georgian Dream Party himself has links with Moscow?
Well, I mean, if we talk about having links with Moscow, what are the nature of those links? Because a lot of Georgians have links with Russia and Moscow. I mean, if we look during the Georgian-Russian war, the Georgian foreign minister was a Russian citizen. He had spent most of his life in Moscow as an academic. So you have these deep ties. And of course, Moscow is an economic dream for many because this is where they make their money, not the West where they were more excluded from. So, I mean, the ties, a lot of it is assertion and assumption. But if you look at the substance of what they say, they want Georgia to be not a subject of international relations, but an object, because they see what's been happening to Ukraine.
How do you see this playing out? Because so far, the president in Georgia plus opposition members are refusing to recognise the outcome of this election. We've got the US, EU and NATO calling for an investigation. Do you believe this is likely to drag on for much longer? Is there any sort of a resolution in sight?
Well, going by previous colour revolutions, I think that the West will try and ramp up, at least in the short term, in order to try and have another Rose Revolution where you saw the government overthrown. So, but this is a short-term goal. And I think it's far from certain because, I mean, this election, I've definitely seen lots of videos on social media where Georgian opposition are ballot stuffing and doing these kinds of things. I think the biggest problem is the threat to Georgian society and splitting it on these geopolitical issues, but without substance, because the whole thing isn't about whether Georgia is going on a pro-Russia course or a pro-Western course, but whether Georgia is able to go on its own sovereign, independent course.
Okay, Professor Greg Simons, we'll have to leave it there. Great to get your thoughts as always. Thank you.